Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we're keeping it geekly with our two guests, Christof Bogacs and Phil Appley, here to break down Requiem issue number 3 and everything in between. And man, like I said, I reread issue 1, jumping into this, and it just got me back into just that bloodlust, like, what is going on? Why is everyone dying? I love it. Welcome to the show, you two. How are you guys doing? Phil, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into creating comics.
Oh God. I came like a little bit later to comics than I guess like a lot of creators say they did. So I remember buying my first comic when I was like 6 from like, okay, depending on how far back you want to go, like in the UK, there's a place called Cornwall. Cornwall is like very rural southwest, and there wasn't a single comic book shop, not one. So it's like our counties are like American states, and then we've got Cornwall, which has nothing basically. It's a tourist place, and there's no comic book shops. So I remember I got my first comic book from a flea market, and I was tossing out a load of stuff the other day, and I actually found it. It's like an old issue of Spider-Man. Anyway. Point being, so I read comics when I was younger, but I didn't read a lot of them. And then halfway through college, I was on track. And when I say on track, I mean, I started very, very early to take like a career in medicine or becoming a doctor. But as it turns out, you have to be really intelligent, and you also have to really, want to do that. And I'd watched like loads of Scrubs, and I thought that's what it'll be like. As it turns out, becoming a doctor is probably nothing like being in Scrubs. So I thought maybe at this point I should like have a little career shift, at the age of 16, 17. And I thought what would be really difficult. And I thought, well, I like comics. Like I'm not like heavily into them, but I really liked them and I liked art. So I thought I'll see how this kind of pans out. And that is kind of how that started. And then I used to work in a fish and chip shop, and I'd have all the wrapping paper in front of me, and I just draw on the paper while I was working, and my boss didn't care at all. So I would just draw constantly for like 8 hours, for my entire 8-hour shift as I was talking to people coming in. And then it just kind of spiraled and spiraled and spiraled. And then I found out that there was a university in Wrexham, which is now famous for that, the Ryan Reynolds, Robin McClellan, I can't pronounce it, that football team. That's the university there was doing a degree in illustration for graphic novels, I think is the actual title. Anyway, so I decided to apply for that. I got a slot there. I was a terrible student. I was absolutely abysmal. My attendance rate was so poor because I stayed at home. I stayed at the house with all my flatmates and stuff, and I drew at home. And this has taken a really long time to explain. And I've just been drawing ever since, and I've done everything possible I can to be able to make drawing as much of a possibility as possible. I moved to China to take a job that had such few working hours, and I could support myself, so I could, spend more time drawing. Because, it takes a long time in this industry when you're starting out to be able to get paid gigs, consistent paid gigs. And I didn't want to end up working 40, 50-hour weeks doing stuff to only be able to draw for like 10 hours a week or something like that. Something ridiculous. You come in this country, you come home, you're absolutely wiped, So I decided to do that. And then while I was out there, I started getting freelance work. And that kind of spiraled. And then I did a couple of Kickstarters, and then I moved back from China to the UK, and I was looking for a project, and I sent out, do you remember this, Christof? I sent out like a little tweety thing.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to work with somebody who's got something to work with. And Christof and David messaged me, and then we discussed the project, and then that's how we ended up here. I've done some things in between, but I've done not a lot that's been published in many ways. I've worked with, I'm working with another Australian writer, and I've been working on a graphic novel for him for like a year and a half now. That's just like ticking along, and pages are adding up and stuff. But basically you won't find me really anywhere because I'm fairly, in, what did I say earlier? Like in the shadows, not in a creepy way.
Not yet.
Just,
Not yet.
Yeah. What,
Hey,
what
it's
was that you
October
said
though.
earlier, Christoph, about me? Rising star, I think you said
Rising,
something
rising
like that.
star. I mean, this is
Yeah.
the thing as like a writer. You're always trying to find artists
Mm-hmm.
that are like right on the cusp of blowing up, and I think that's what we kind of saw in Phil with really, like a great style, really, really evocative inks, and really strong on-page storytelling.
I mean, hey, even if you are spooky, it's October. It's like the perfect season to be spooky. I mean, so first off, shout out to Fish and Chips manager. I always love hearing a story like something like that. You know, putting in the work while working. It sucks that you have to maintain a job to live. And then you often don't have enough hours to do what you love to do. And a lot of people don't realize how much work, how much effort goes into this. I remember a lot of people, you know, like, you must make a lot of money doing what you do. And I'm like, you guys get paid? Like, this is a hobby for me. Like, I just enjoy talking comics.
This is one of my my wife works in like a corporate environment, and one of her old coworkers was like, because she just casually mentioned that like I'm an author, and her coworker was like, "Why do you need to work then? Like you guys must be loaded." I was like, "Oh no, you do not." Well, number one, comic book author, and number two, like, yeah, it's not. This is 2025, man. We're not all Stephen King.
Yeah. So Christof, last time we've been on, I mean, I feel like you have just been blowing up more and more, getting your work, you know, DC, Oni Press. I mean, just, yeah, all kinds of things. I remember when you announced that, I was so excited for you. Because we got you on for your first book. So to see that growth as a creator has been phenomenal, dude. What have you been up to?
Yeah, thank you so much. I so appreciate that. I feel very lucky that I've been able to gain momentum. I mean, comics is a very kind of small industry, and I think I heard and I don't know if this is like 100% accurate, but this is kind of like the vibe feels right, which is the same amount of people work full time in comics as play in the NBA. So I think like you kind of forget that it's a very small group of people that are able to be like financially supported by this industry. So anyone working full time in it is a miracle, and I will never not be thankful for that. But yeah, so in July, I had my DC debut come out, which was a story in the California Love Anthology. And then, outside of that, I kicked off the year writing a Rick and Morty one-shot, the New Year's special over
Insane.
and over, which was, incredible. It was really, really fun because I wrote, back in 2024, I did another one-shot for them that was 30 pages, and this one was like double the size. So it was really fun to spend some more time in that world. So and then outside of that, just a bunch of projects that I can't really talk about, except by the time this, it's a live stream. So tomorrow, or Wednesday rather, in the States, New Comic Book Day, I have a short story coming out in Hello Darkness 15. So if you're watching this as the recording, it's probably already out. So please consider picking that up. I had a really fun time doing a possession story with a little twist. So
That's so cool.
Yeah, a lot of fun, and that's such a killer anthology. It was awesome to be a part of.
So Phil, how did you end up meeting Christof? You said it was you put out a tweet, a feeler, and then how did you guys end up crossing paths for Requiem?
Yeah, that was it really. Just sent out a tweet, and a few people messaged me, and Christof and David had like the idea that was probably the most sort of the thing that I could sort of sink my teeth into the most. I mean, this is what, 2021, 2022?
Yeah, definitely 2021.
Yeah,
I can remember from where I was living.
Yeah, but it was simple as that really. And we sort of we talked it over, and they sent me a script not too long after. I think it was a few months after maybe, and then it's just sort of spiraled from there. And then we've been, we stay in touch, and then when they have managed to find the time to do things, because they're both, Christof and David are both extremely talented, and the problem with people who are extremely talented is they're also extremely busy. So but they've been ticking over on their things, I've been ticking over on my things, and then we sort of get together once a year to bang one of these things out. We have a blast doing it, and then
and I think part of it as well is like just the Kickstarter process is incredible. It's exhilarating. It's also exhausting. It's kind of 30 each day is a roller coaster, because at least in Australia, I wake up and it's like, so I wake up towards the evening in the US. I'm like, it's essentially been a day in the US, which is our main support area. And I'm like, well, how did we do? How stressed am I going to be today? And that's every day for 30 days.
So, I mean, what is what is going on with the tariffs? Do you think that is going to impact Kickstarter on your end? Like, because you guys are out of states, and with you, I never really, I guess, thought of that from a consumer point of view. Like a lot of people outside of the United States, how much they rely on the backers from here.
Yeah, I mean, Phil, what's going on with, didn't the the UK Post not send to the US for a little bit when the tariffs were first announced?
Yeah. I mean, they when the tariffs were first announced, they did this. I think, and then they did this about 2 or 3 weeks ago again because something else had happened. I went to post something for my wife. Was going to the States, and they just flat out rejected me in the post office. They said, "We're not sending anything to America." I said, "What?" And then they pointed to like a little piece of paper, and then they gave me like a list of the reasons why. And yeah, the whole thing's mad. But I think that's resolved at the moment. But I know there's still like fees being levied for importing things in. The whole thing's mad. So if you're not in the States,
yeah, and I think
I have no idea.
The nightmare for me, right, would be to have like a package, either like if we were sending something that was for like a really big, for like a backer that's dropped, $100+
Yeah.
or a shipment of books coming to the US and it just got stuck in, border tariff limbo hell. Because outside of paying the tariffs, which of course is really rough on indie creators, you also have the added thing of it's an obstacle, right? So, it stops at the border. They have to collect the tariff, which means they have to contact you. And if you're outside of the US, that becomes tricky. So I think that's kind of the nightmare of any creator that's working outside the US. So I mean, from the first Kickstarter, we've always used a US fulfillment partner, and the reason for that is just to keep shipping down for US backers. So if I was to send like a book from Australia, it would probably cost like 20, maybe like 15 to 16 USD to send that from the Australia to the US. I mean, Australia Post is extremely expensive for international stuff. And much like what the UK did when the tariffs were initially announced, Australia Post refused to ship to the US. So basically, I guess workaround is nothing is going into the US, everything is going out. So we're using a printer in the US now, which unfortunately means it's a bit more expensive than using one overseas, but we've got a great printing partner in Comics Impressions, and it means that everything is in the US. So all the printing basically will be done in the US, sent to our US fulfillment center, and stuff will only be going out of the US to avoid any issues with tariffs. Because I mean, like, again, stuff gets lost in the mail normally when you're fulfilling a Kickstarter. So I can't imagine how much extra issue there would be if we were dealing with the tariffs.
I just wanted to ask that question because I was curious, and a lot of times creators watch these shows, so I think it's pretty genius you're using a fulfiller in the States to kind of avoid that tariff. That's a really smart move.
Yeah, we use just a shout her out Laguna Studios, which is run by Laurie, and she's really wonderful and they're just is super easy to work with, very quick, really great. So definitely worth reaching out to if you're looking for a fulfillment partner. But I think, being outside of the States and knowing, close to 50% of our backers are in the States. I mean, that's where the floppy comic market is. You just wouldn't be viable if I was sending them from here.
Yeah, and that's just, it's crazy to think about. So Phil, the first time you got the script for because me and Christof, we've talked a lot about the collaborative process, his point of view and stance on the writing. I want to hear what goes into the art. And I had a chance to see your artwork, with issue 1, issue 2. I interviewed the creator of Stone Cop, so I seen your work there. Phenomenal. I loved your work in that compared to this too. It feels like two different worlds, and your interiors are just freaking amazing, man. So when you first got the script for issue 1, what was your initial, thought process?
First off, thank you very much. Very kind of you to say. This is the first issue, my impressions. Now we're talking. I'm trying to recall because it was a while ago. I used to drink. Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I think there's the idea that if you say to somebody no notes, then it's like, he didn't care enough about it to give somebody notes. But I mean, it was a no-note situation. Like, I didn't have anything about it that I thought needed to be changed. I just, it was exactly what I wanted at exactly the right time. And I got a lot of latitude in terms of how I could, pursue approaching it artistically, which was nice. There wasn't a huge amount of constraint in terms of if I wanted to change, not the story, but like angles and the just I don't know, any sort of artistic approach really. So yeah, I mean, I really, for the first one, and the second one, there was the same thing. I don't think I had anything, and the third one again, yeah, no notes. But again, not because I just literally I couldn't pick it apart to hate on it in any way, shape, or form. I'm incredibly critical. I mean, you said you spoke to Nick. Nick could tell you, and that's not because there's anything wrong with Nick's scripts, which are also awesome. But like things that I've been critical with him about over the years. He knows I'm not, I'm kind of picky in some respects. No, I just, there's nothing really at all. I just think that, and again, so issue 1 was 2022. Yeah, it was when we launched it. It's 2023 was the last.
Yeah,
one?
2023. Yeah, it would have been in production 22, and then I think launched in 23.
Sorry, I'm trying to get my ducks in a row in terms of like how long it's been. But
yeah, it's like 2 or 3 in the morning for Phil right now for anyone that's watching. And it's probably
really
pretty close for Christof too.
It's like 1 a.m. So I have no idea.
10 o'clock for me.
That good.
Oh, sorry, 1 p.m. Fine. 1 p.m. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was going to say nobody looks that good at 1 a.m.
It's 1 p.m. You're good. It's like the middle of my workday, so I'm sprightly and full of energy.
So, I mean, I got to ask, what came first? Was it Stone Cop or was it Requiem issue 1?
Oh no, this is not a question for 3 in the morning.
Okay, because I was curious because you come from interiors where it's like, Stone Cop, a police officer made of stone, and then you're in space. You have these huge space arcs. I mean, we have space like technology, and it's 2 different worlds. And I just loved like the contrast and like just environments. What did you use, I guess, as inspiration for some of these designs?
For Requiem?
Yeah.
Everything and anything I could get my hands on at the time. I think I watched a lot of, we were obviously talking about Dead Space earlier. So I played Dead Space, right? Mm-hmm. Dead Space 1 is one of maybe like 10 games I've finished in my entire life. Resident Evil 2 being one of them, and I like a lot of the sort of third-person horror sort of things. But yeah, so Dead Space 1, Dead Space 2. I watch horror movies, not exclusively, but they are my absolute go-to. Christof is probably sick of hearing me say this by now, but like Event Horizon is like my all-time favorite horror movie, really. I think I've just picked up a lot of that kind of stuff over the years. And then this is an issue I have, right, artistically, is if I look at an artist or if I watch something, I will very, very quickly be influenced by whatever I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. And it will change what I'm working on, like on the day, to maybe reflect that. So if hypothetically, if I was looking at, say like Joe Mad's pencils or something, and I was drawing while I was looking at them, even if I hadn't looked at them for like a year, that it would just sort of bleed in that day. I'm very, I'm very easy to manipulate. It's not the right word. But anyway,
I think you're very I think you're a very adaptive artist, Phil, which is
adaptive.
Kind of
yeah, we'll go with adaptive. Yeah, so but I'll adapt very quickly, and then I have to shake my way out of it. So the thing is that because this is obviously, you said you've read issue 1. So if you look at issue 1, if you look at issue 2, and you look at issue 3, and you look at Stone Cop, and if you look at the stuff that I did before, which is I did a comic. I did the first 2 issues of a comic called Robo with Jesse Kepler. They're all wildly different. I would say each in terms of the projects themselves, they are very similar. So 1 and 2 of Robo was very similar, and then Requiem obviously is very similar. And I think I think over the years I've kind of built up in skill with that. But again, being adaptive to certain things that I look at, I tried not to get too much in the way of reference. But you obviously need it for some things. But again, things like Alien, Event Horizon, you can't avoid them in, working on something in the sci-fi horror genre. We were discussing this earlier. I'd like to see something. Maybe this will be the next project, Christof. We work on something that's bright and cheerful and child-friendly, but horror, The Care Bears, but their faces are melting off, something like that. Something with lots of colors and rainbows and stuff, but just disgusting, because that's not something you see a lot of, but you do see a lot of, obviously.
Okay, speaking of that, have you guys seen the last episode of Peacemaker 2, season 2?
I've not even started.
God. It's good. It's good. So, Christof, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Phil, when you're talking about like teddy bears and murder, I immediately thought of Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. If you
Oh
check
God,
that out,
yes, yes.
which is kind of like, it's about like a cute little, it's like watercolor, and it's about a cute town of like animals, and one of the bear is like a serial killer.
Like
So
Dexter. It's like Teddy Bear
Yeah.
Dexter.
Really? Beneath
Yeah,
the
it's
trees where
good.
nobody sees.
Yeah, so it's from IDW. It's and I think it just won a Harvey Award. So it's
It's getting a DC crossover too, which is insane, right? Yeah, it's insane. Like the crossover has what, like Homelander, that bear.
That's right.
Yeah, dude.
When I saw it, I thought it was like a joke.
Yeah, I did too.
Like,
yeah. No, that is
like,
crazy.
You know?
So, kind of to get everyone a recap. We're allowed to kind of spoil issue 1 a little bit, to a degree, or
Yeah.
and there's also a free.
I feel like it's been out long enough.
There's also a free, I think, 14-page preview if you go to the Kickstarter. So here again,
and
guys.
I would say, like, even if you know the spoiler for the first issue, it's a spoiler just for the first issue. It doesn't affect the entire series.
And right there,
like,
is
it
a
affects
link.
the entire series, but
go
it
ahead.
doesn't spoil the series.
Right there is a link for the Kickstarter, so you could pop it up and check out that free preview. All you gotta do is just sign up. You get 14 pages sent to you for free. You have absolutely nothing to lose. So we have Space Arcs, 5 of them. They are looking for a new home for humanity, and it's kind of the arc you would imagine, right? It has every species of animal, plants on it. 5 officers, which I thought was really interesting. How many people are usually on these arcs?
Yeah, so it's 5. So we can't go too much into history of why without spoiling stuff.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
But like, but they've been designed to have a skeleton crew, and the other kind of, I guess, thing, just from like a practicality standpoint, right, is I didn't want the crew to be too big because ensemble casts are hard to write.
Yeah,
and especially when we're talking about Requiem, where characters are constantly wiping their memory, each character kind of has various versions of themselves. In terms of like their personalities are the same, but in terms of what they know and their past actions and how they relate to that all changes each time they wipe their memory. So that was the other reason why we kind of want to keep it small. And I also think some of the sting and the horror of space is taken away if there's too many people, right? Part of like the idea of 5 people on this critical mission in the middle of, space is kind of adds to the stakes and the feeling of horror.
So I really think it's interesting too, and I don't think I caught this the first time, but I've been reading a lot of literature about analyzing and studying comics, so it's time to strap on the boots. Requiem is an act of remembering, and I thought that was such an interesting choice for the title, and I give you a hat nod for that.
That is all David. David was the one, David, I think, is better at titles than I am in a lot of ways. He's very good at coming up with evocative titles, whereas I just kind of want to tell you, a lot of my titles, I just kind of want to tell you what the book is, which can sometimes be an issue when you're dealing with it. I can't just be like, people losing memory in space, the book.
So we got the Space Arcs looking for a new home for humanity. One lost its entire crew. We have one person stuck in hypersleep. The crew is horribly dismembered. Phil, kudos to the designs on those. You have entrails hanging out of bodies, just people smashed up. I really, really appreciated the attention to detail on that. And it's like one of those things. Whenever this crew has a feeling of emotion, they get decontaminated, they lose their memory. I love that because it sets the tone for such a crazy adventure. Because what do you do if you can't remember what happened, right? It's a loop of just always losing, and we get to see kind of the touches of the crew losing their cool in the first issue. You have the one person just randomly laughing, and it's like, it almost like gaslights you. So like, where a horror movie, you rely a lot on the soundtrack, right? You can like play a horror movie quietly. It's not going to be nearly as scary. I think you do a great job with the breadcrumbs, like leading that horror suspense so early in the first issue.
Yeah, I mean, that's all Phil's amazing facial expressions, which, one of the reasons we were drawn to him for this project is because he just does his characters emote really well. And then Bram, the letterer, did a really great job of kind of amplifying that with the lettering.
Yeah, so give us kind of, I guess, without spoiling too much, what has happened in issue 2. We're going to get ready to pull up the campaign as well. So what's been going on since, with issue 2 in between 1 and 3?
Yeah, totally. So like you said, Cody, basically in the opening of issue 1, our ship, our space arc that we're following, which is the Genesis, meets the Exodus, which was one of the other space arcs that were sent out. They were never meant to meet, but they find it, and basically everyone is slaughtered by one person who's just had their memory wiped, who is Raina, who's the character we follow throughout the book. Yeah, so that's kind of where we start, is how did this happen? What happened here? And nobody knows. So Raina is taken to the Genesis, and they basically they decide they're going to continue their mission. They're going to take Raina with them. They don't know what's happened on the Exodus, but they kind of just have to let it go. And obviously, the mayhem and murder follows Raina onto the Genesis. And our first issue ends with probably one of my favorite characters from the book, to be honest, Callie getting murdered, and the words "Edith, remember her" being written in Callie's blood. And that's kind of where we end off issue 1. So it's like whatever happened on the Exodus has followed Raina onto the Genesis, and obviously she is the prime suspect. So in issue 2, she's imprisoned on the ship because obviously they suspect her, and then things begin to go wrong, and violence begins to ensue, even with Raina locked up. And we also people start regaining their memories, and it starts basically messing them up and affecting the way they see the world and what they do. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're, without getting too much into spoiler territory, in issue 2. And issue 3 really obviously continues that. I think a big thing that I think about when we're talking about like the issues, particularly with the covers, is like what visually is unique about each issue. So issue 1, we had, the space arcs were a big part of it, hence why the space arcs feature on the cover. In issue 2, it's all about the airlock. There's a really pivotal scene towards the back of issue 2 in an airlock. And then issue 3, we move to the biodome, which is the kind of the green, lush heart of the ship in a lot of ways, where they've got all their plants and biological material, and also as well as like embryos of animals, people, and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of really, and it's the core of their mission, but we actually begin to see it properly and in a larger scale in this issue. And it's really the stakes of what they're fighting for and what they're protecting.
Man, these covers are absolutely gorgeous.
Just to shout out our incredible cover artists. So the first one, the lovely green one, is by Noah Dow, who's a fellow Australian. So Dave and I know Noah through the convention scene here. Noah's incredible. He did a cover for last year's DC Pride. He does covers currently does covers taking over for Nick Robles over on The Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos over at Dark Horse. So he's incredible. And then the people who've been following my work, you might recognize our bright red cover, which features Riggs going very mad, by the incredible Marie Enger. So Marie and I did Under Kingdom together. They were kind of one of the first friends I made in comics. So it's really special to have Marie and Noah on the covers, because they're both, all the cover artists are people that we're friendly with. But I think Noah, for whatever reason, the covers for this issue just felt really special. And then of course we have, before Phil had even done the pages on issue 1, he'd done his stunning cover. And I think again, just the highlight on like the expression, and I love the black cables going through Angel's hands. So I love, because I feel like that cover is so arresting. You immediately see it like what,
and the little silhouette in the pupil too.
Yes, yeah, the pupil detail is so good, because I feel like eyes are just the creepiest part of the book.
Oh yeah, this is such a gorgeous cover. So we have the 3 covers right here. Give us a little bit about the title name too. Is there any special meaning between with this?
Yeah, so Dave and me, Phil, have we talked about religion stuff with you? But Dave was brought up Jewish. I was brought up Seventh-day Adventist Christian, which is like a very specific genre of Christian. But so religious framing of mythology has been a big, particularly Old Testament stuff, has been a big part of both me and David's lives, and something that we kind of have a lot of overlap on. So each issue is actually named after a different biblical concept. So I believe issue 1's like in the beginning, and yeah, I forget what issue 2 is called, but issue 3 is Sodom and Gomorrah, which is kind of obviously referencing Sodom and Gomorrah in the Old Testament, which was kind of this debaucherous place that God decided he was going to destroy. So it's kind of hinting at the ongoing chaos and the idea that we're kind of leading to something really catastrophic happening.
And I think it's interesting you say that, because the arcs, the space arcs, Exodus and Genesis, those are also biblical terms too.
Yeah, and again, that's just Dave and me just enjoying referencing, I guess, a mythology that we both feel pretty comfortable around, because it was stuff that we kind of grew up with. I just, for anyone who's not religious, like outside of some of the naming and references, it's not a religious book. You know, it doesn't reference that stuff heavily. So if you don't know it, you're fine. But that was kind of like, I don't know. I think when you're talking about, particularly look at the Alien movies, right? All the ships are named after, for the most part, like Prometheus or Romulus, are named after mythical figures. So that was our way of doing that.
That is so cool.
You know, because presumably even in the far future or the near future, humans are going to still have a lot of the same like myths, because they've been around for centuries and thousands of years. So that's kind of why we decide to lean into the biblical mythology. It's like, well, that's probably still that's still around and things people know of. So that's why it's inspired a lot of, the ship names.
I'm really loving these interiors too. Phil, when you were designing this world of the Biodome, what was kind of going through your mind with your creative process?
Oh, there's a question. See, my immediate thought is to say, not much. Not much goes through my mind at any one particular point. It was an idea from something. I can't remember the dome itself and the vines going up the wall. It's something I'd seen a while back. I don't know, just lush greens, lovely verdant landscapes. A bajillion miles away in space where there's some really nasty shit going on. I think I wanted to keep it fairly simple. These pages are kind of a precursor to a larger scene further on in the issue where things look a little bit, I don't want to say prettier, but less this, and then following on a few pages after, a little bit more lush, to go from something that's, because when you're drawing greenery, I'll just say, obviously you got the difference between tropical greenery and other types, and we wanted the idea that it was all, all mashed together. I know what it was. It's the Eden Project in Cornwall. That's what it was. I'd been looking at pictures of the Eden Project in Cornwall, which is where I used to live. Just to do something.
What is the Eden Project? I've never heard of it.
It's a series of large domes, and in each dome they have a different. Like, not human. What is the word?
Biosphere?
Biome, or like
different biomes. Yeah, like they got climates and stuff. They got tropical climate. They've got a non-tropical climate.
Ecosystems.
Sorry.
Ecosystems, something like that.
Ecosystems as well, stuff like that. I mean, you guys, it must be nice, for it to be so early in the day, and if you ought to be looking so young.
I love you could tell who's like sharp and who's not. Like Christof is one in the afternoon for him, so he's right on the dot. I'm like at 10, so I'm like almost there, and then Phil's like 3 a.m. He's like, let me sleep.
This is perfect, because this is exactly what I'm like first thing in the morning. This is exactly what I'm like midday. So this way, at least I have an excuse. Basically that's what it was. It was the Eden Project, and if you ever go to Cornwall, it's a wonderful place. They do music venues, and they're a music venue. They do stuff there as well. But I wish you could see some of the later pages, because some of the later pages that are set there are far more
and this is always like the struggle with the Kickstarter pages, right? All the really like arresting pages that are incredible all contain major spoilers. So it means that often
I just want to tweet it all out, but I can't. I
know, right? And
I'm not allowed.
I think the interiors. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say in issue 2 there's a double page spread, which I love, and I put a very small snippet of it in the Kickstarter page. But again, I can't pull the whole thing, otherwise it's major spoilers that'll inhibit people's enjoyment of the issue.
I was gonna say, I really think these preview pages really show like a testament to Phil's like artwork. Like you have this insane like biodome here. We scroll down a little bit. We have the space with the space arcs and the space travel, and then like this right here is so insane. When I first seen this, I remember just being like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Just looking at that, that's taking me back. It's like a time capsule.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think it speaks to Phil's adaptability as an artist and the fact that like whatever we kind of throw at him, because again, in terms of like what he has to draw in Requiem, it's a really demanding book. There's like the horror elements, the body horror element, which involves a lot of a pretty intense understanding of anatomy, so you can mess it up in believable ways. A lot of like facial expressions, because we've got a lot of close shots of characters, and then he has to draw both really industrial environments and then also the biodome, which is really organic. So it's, I think like it shows Phil's adaptability because it's such a demanding book in terms of the range of stuff that we force poor Phil to draw.
So what type of adventure are we going to see in issue 3 without spoiling? I mean, we're going to be diving more into the psychological horror thrill of it. Where are we going to see these poor souls heading towards in this biodome?
Yeah, I mean, I think issue 3 is very much the center of our story. So the crew is getting thinned out by this point. Spoiler alert, people die. Who would have thought in horror? But the crew is getting sort of thinned out, and I think we're reader is starting to see the big picture of what's going on as we lead into like our conclusion in the final double issues. So I think it's very much, again, it's hard to talk about without spoiling, but I think what's going on and kind of the villain behind everything is going to be it's pretty much revealed in this issue. So this is where we're really getting in the first 2 issues are very mystery heavy, and we're really avoiding telling you what's going on. Issue 3, I think, is where you really begin to see the shape of the beast that we're dealing with.
So how many issues are we going to see in this series?
Totally. So it's technically a 5-issue miniseries, but issues 4 and 5 are going to be a double issue. Just because we're keen to get it done and out to everyone as soon as possible. So we're going to do a double-sized 4 and 5 as a combined issue at the end. Yeah, so that'll be the next Kickstarter. So this is very much the midpoint. And I also just want to let people know who are, supporting the issue that we have an end to the story, there's a controlled scope. This doesn't plan to go on forever. And hopefully, by next year, we would have finished telling the story and everyone at home can, have all 5 issues.
Real quick, everyone that is watching, there is a link in the chat. Be sure to check out the rewards with us. If you're able to back, we would love to see that. But simply sharing this on Twitter, Facebook, Bluesky, word of mouth is 100% free.
Yeah, please. I mean, check out the 14-page preview, which you can on the Kickstarter page, which is free. And if you like it, but you can't, you don't have coin on you, please consider sharing it on your socials. It really, I think Kickstarter's more than ever now with the state of social media, they rely on word of mouth, and you letting people hearing from people they trust that something is good and that they should check it out.
So, Christof, when you were talking about issue 1 and Kali, dying, that was such, I really, really love that scene in particular. Jaw ripped off, handwritten in blood. Phil, you really killed that. When you're going through your creative process, starting a page or working on some interiors, what does that look like for you? Do you play like any sort of music, maybe a TV show in the background? Like, what's an average art day look like for you?
Cody, I think the question we're dancing around here is, Phil, how messed up is your Google search history? Like, are you just Googling like jaw ripped off?
We'll talk about this after the stream. Basically, I start my day with just lines and lines and lines of cocaine.
Hello.
It changes a lot. This is something that this is my biggest struggle. My absolute number one biggest struggle is keeping my method from start to finish consistent. The pages at the end, I think, generally look fairly consistent across the board. But the methodology that I use to get there generally changes on a day-by-day basis. And again, this is something I spoke about earlier. It's like, I like to study other artists, but the problem is if I look at how they work, from thumbnails to pencil, thumbnails to roughs to wireframes to pencils to inks, what have you, I will start to work in that kind of way. So I don't have one particular set set method for starting a page, depending on who I've been looking at, that week, maybe, say, because I'm always trying to get better. And to do that, you do have to spend a lot of time looking at other people and how they work. But generally get the script, cry because of what's being asked, have a little breakdown, straight to the freezer for the ice cream. Have another little cry after you've consumed the entire ice cream, like the pint of ice cream, and then decide that you have to get on with it. So then it just goes thumbs. So thumbnail stuff out. I know a lot of people like to do that on printed scripts, or they find a way to do it digitally. I have 24 pages, and I just do the thumbnails on each individual page. And then if I'm happy, or if Christof and David and I, we haven't done a huge amount of communication, or sorry, not communication, but discussion in terms of changing things each time. So if they see something, largely, it's been another no-note sort of situation, I think, back from you guys. Again, having given me a lot of leeway has been quite useful. So thumbnails, thumbnails, like wireframes. If anybody doesn't know what wireframes are, they're like imagine a ball with like lines drawn around it, that sort of thing, so no detail or anything like that. And then that helps me put everything, I guess, where I want it to be. But then if I'm not happy with it, it's very, very easy to change it. You've put very little time into it at this point, and then you can throw in things like lighting. So you've done the composition with where you put the characters, then you throw the lighting in to kind of draw the eye around the page, and then drop a opacity. Start a new layer, pencil everything over, so faces and the armor or the backgrounds or what have you, and then slap that, turn that into a blue line, and then ink over the top of it, and that's it. And it takes 10 seconds to talk about, it takes 10 hours to do.
Yep.
It's really easy. It's really easy. Anybody can do it. We should all be doing it.
You just need a lot of cocaine, and we believe
so
in
much
you.
cocaine.
Way.
So much cocaine.
So Christof, we have some awesome tiers. We just kind of scrolled through them while Phil was, give us the lowdown on the large amounts of cocaine he's been consuming. Give us a little bit of a breakdown with this Creator Pack a Zoom dinner.
Yeah, totally. So something we try and do, and we've done for the previous Kickstarters as well, is a lot of people who support Kickstarters are creators themselves, comic Kickstarters are comic creators themselves. Yeah, so we have a Zoom dinner, which is essentially just a couple of hours Zoom meeting with myself, Dave, and Phil, where you can ask us anything. You can talk about what you're working on. We can offer you advice. We can tell you about what we're working on. So it's really your chance to just pick our brains and ask whatever you'd like. And that kind of leads into the second creator pack, which is similar but a little bit more pointed, I guess, where we give you a script review of either a pitch script or a full comic script you've written, or a pitch document, and we give you detailed feedback on that. So you get a bunch of detailed written feedback on your pitch, and then you'll also get half an hour on a call with myself and David to go through in person, and then you can ask us any questions. Yeah, so I mean, with all those, you also get the all the covers of Requiem as well for issue 3. So yeah, we really want to try and offer opportunities for new creators to be able to get some time with us. And Dave and I don't normally have open the script reviews and pitch reviews. It's not something we do all the time. So if you're interested, it is at this stage, it's only really through the Kickstarter. I've done them occasionally outside of it, but really we only do them through the Kickstarters. So if you miss out, it'll probably be a year before we open up.
Yeah, and you guys are all pretty well established with your positions too. I mean, an awesome price for an awesome bang for your buck. Honestly, anyone out there should have their scripts reviewed. Checked out by another person. To have two well-established creators, and is Phil involved with the script as well, or is that just the first tier?
I mean, he's welcome to be, but Dave and me kind of main tank that one because Phil's busy drawing the pages. So yeah, Dave and me tend to handle that, just because I guess the scripting, is the one thing that I guess we kind of know that's our area of expertise. And also the writing is so much quicker. So Phil, forever, I think a comic page takes 20 minutes to write for me, and it will take Phil a day to draw at least. So this is
You don't want me involved in the
goddamn
writing
writers.
Yeah.
So, real quick, for anyone that might be on the fence for backing, if you guys had just one shot to kind of talk to them and convince them otherwise, what would you like to say to them to help push them over that hump? Phil, let's go ahead and start with you first.
Each bag comes with free cocaine.
That'll do it.
Sorry, could I say it? If I had one.
If you had an opportunity to kind of push someone over their hesitation on backing, what would you say to them?
It's really good. It is really good. There's 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. There's a lot of people who put so much love and effort into this thing, and if you like sci-fi horror, you're gonna love it. I mean, it's I'm a terrible hype man. I really am, because to me, it's just good. That's all you need to know. It'll keep you entertained, and the ending is going to be so good. So having, I'm very keen for people to get this in their hands and to be able to read it. And yeah, my elevator pitches aren't elevator pitches. I press on the fire alarm, the elevator comes to a standstill, and I'm holding people at knife point up against the wall. Like, you will buy
honestly,
this. It's really good.
The cocaine had me sold, so I don't know. You might be one of the best hype men ever, really.
It's not real cocaine. It's just baking powder. We can't afford it. It's just, shouldn't be admitting that.
Christof, what about you, though? If you had the opportunity, what would you say?
I think how I would say Kickstarter is right, that through the Requiem and why it's on Kickstarter is because it's a project me, Dave, and Phil all really believe in. We thought about taking it to publishers and had pitched it to some publishers, and we kind of realized that publishers didn't get it, in the sense that they struggled with the fact that it was referential, to a lot of other sci-fi that exists. But we're so confident, the memory wiping kind of aspect of it is really original. We do really interesting stuff with it. This is kind of designed for people who love sci-fi horror and want to see something new. It's the genre and love. But we're confident our take is new, and like Phil said, we're all seasoned creators. The issue 3 is pretty much done. Issue 1 and 2 are all in the can. So yeah, it's a really safe bet, and we think it's a book we're really proud of and feel like we could only do through Kickstarter.
That is awesome.
Original is a word I should have used. It is it is an original take on this, very much so. I've not read anything like it or seen anything like it before. So
I've done. Yeah. This is 490 interviews. I've done over 500. There's a bunch that I got rid of just because, sometimes you got apples that turn to bad apples after a year or two, and then you just gotta get rid of the whole barrel. So over 500 interviews. This is one of the most unique and original horror books I've read. So I agree with you, Phil. As someone who's read a crapload, I have not really seen a lot of ideas like this implemented in this nature, and you really nail the horror and psychological thrill of it. And that brings me to my next question, Phil. I know this is your first time on the show, but I always love asking creators for a piece of advice and then what you guys are up to outside of creating. So, with horror being the theme of the book, let's go ahead and capitalize that. Christof, for anyone looking to get into writing a horror story, what would be your biggest piece of advice to kind of help aid them in that process? And then for Phil, as someone who maybe might be an artist looking to dive into a horror comic, what's the best piece of advice you can give them to kind of help them maybe get, better with their interiors or character design with a horror comic? So Christof, we'll start with you first.
Yeah. I mean, I think in all storytelling, but particularly horror, pacing is really important, and relief, and you're kind of playing with tension and releasing the tension, right? And you can either release the tension by having something really horrific happen or having a moment of levity. So I think understanding that those are your tools, and also like you were saying about the gore in the book, you have to be, I think, really, really careful in using gore, because if you use it too much, people get sick of it really quickly. It needs to have death, and gore need to have an impact. Think about Tarantino's films. Everyone talks about how violent they are, but really there's not that much in terms of screen time. It takes up a very little amount of the violence, but when it happens, it's so kind of intense and over the top, and it grabs you in such a way that that's what you think of with the whole movie, right? So I think horror is similar in the sense that people are going to really remember and be drawn to your big kind of gory moments, but you need to make sure that everything around them builds up in a satisfying way and also doesn't kind of desensitize your reader to gore before that.
Awesome. And Phil, for you as an artist, what would be your biggest piece of advice to aid another artist in their efforts to make a horror comic or book?
I would say I'll give two pieces of advice. First thing is that the real horror in life is getting old. So before you even think,
Amen.
You're right, and now you got like more kids. Like it's gonna age. I don't have any kids, and look at me.
The white's already showing in my beard and my hair. That's why I got to wear the hat now. Like,
oh no,
it's rough out here.
it's downhill. It's off the cliff for you now, mate. It's done for. You're screwed. Yeah. So look after your body more than anything else. I think is before you concentrate on getting good at. You have to look after yourself. And then as to, because I was talking to Christof about this the other day, like my body has just failed me from doing this job for so many years without looking after myself. You spend a lot of time sitting in a chair. As to making a horror comic, yeah, again, like, so pacing obviously in the script side of things and with the words and the lettering and how the story plays out is one thing, but pacing the visuals as well, and that comes across in things like like panels. The size of a panel generally dictates one of a couple things, whether it's an important action happening or an important thing, or if it's if it's a quicker moment in time or a shorter moment in time. So I think having smaller panels for smaller beats of time when you're trying to match up with this pacing is also very important. And again, things like lighting and composition are very, very important. You don't want to go into the incredibly moody stuff straight away, because then by the time so if there's more levity in a scene, you want it to be, even if it's in a darker setting, you might want it to be a bit brighter, because later on you're going to turn the lights off and things will be horrible, and that's the point where you want to be able to do it. So pacing, not everything in a horror comic needs to be horror. Not everything in a horror movie needs to be horror across the board, because of the fact that we all get used to things very, very quickly, especially now in the modern day. We acclimate to things so quickly now, because we see so much, we hear so much, we read so much, that nothing really shocks anymore. So you have to be even more, you have to pump the brakes a lot more. So yeah, again, just holding back and knowing when to release is I think is key. Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that's key.
It's I think good horror is like a coiled snake, right? It's gonna strike, but you don't know when. So therefore, just staring at it in its coiled position becomes scary.
No, that is awesome.
So I think that 100% feel like that's a big part of this. Just people know when they pick up a horror book that messed up stuff's gonna happen, but how do you keep them engaged and build up to that in a satisfying way?
And I think you're right. The older we get, the more desensitized we get to things. I remember being in 6th grade, seeing the beheading videos, the faces of death videos. And then now it's like my daughter's that age, and I was like, I would not want her to see any of that. Like, holy crap. So last but not least, what are you guys up to outside of creating? What TV shows are you watching? What video games are you playing? Any of you guys checking out Final Fantasy Tactics? I've been sucked into that game all week.
Yeah, do you want to go first, Phil?
No, you can go first. Yeah, you go.
So I'm a classic late adopter. So I've been playing through Hollow Knight for the first time. So people who don't know, Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania platformer that came out in 2017. Silk Song, the sequel, came out this year, but I've just kind of gotten around to playing Hollow Knight. It's incredible. Then I've also started playing Hades 2, because I loved Hades 1, and it just came out on so it's been out in not pre-launch, but in
beta,
an unfinished form for a while. Yeah, early access. But I don't really mess with early access games. I think it's great that they allow studios to build, to have fun and make these games. But I want to play the game when it's done. Like that's when it's. I think that's when it's the time to make a judgment on it. But I started playing that. It's incredible. I mean, I knew it was going to be good. It's just everything I wanted.
Phil, what about you though? Any games, any movies, any TV shows you've been interested in?
Yeah, so Christof was taking the piss at me the other day, Dave, because I said that we got asked about, what do we like to do outside to decompress from work, and I said I just move on to another project. That's how I decompress. But I'm trying to get a bit more sort of, like trying to expand myself out into other things to kind of give myself a little bit of a break. So the other day, my friend bought the new Battlefield game, and I'm not good with competitive games at all. And as an aging man, my reflexes aren't what they once used to be. But I played it with him last night and had an absolute blast. And then to keep myself awake this evening after I finished work at like 10 o'clock, we just played like 4 hours of it. So I'm coming off the back of that. That's a ton of fun. The thing is, like, so Christoph mentioned Hades, right? I have played a bit of Hades. I was more of a Dead Cells person a few years back, but
Dead Cells is good too.
Yeah, Dead Cells is amazing. My wife played through Hades and she finished it, and I watched her playing a lot of it, and she loved it. And I picked it up the other day just to have a bash at it. And I find games like that, I'm very interested. Something I am interested in is reading about how the brain works in terms of like the reward center, the limbic system and stuff. Games like that, and games like Battlefield, and they're very, very, very set up in a certain way to keep you playing. For games like Hades, it is very much from an artistic perspective. You feel like these smaller indie companies, they care about the story. I mean, the story in Hades is fantastic, and like, I don't know if Christoph, you remember this, but I said, like, I have Marvel Rivals installed on my computer, but for the sole purpose of loading it up to look at the character designs, right?
Yeah.
And I played, like, watching my wife play through Hades and looking at the character designs of all these characters. I absolutely, not in the game, but like in the mythology, I love it's gorgeous.
Everyone.
So
That's
good.
the thing about Hades. Everyone is ridiculously good looking. Like all the characters are like thirst traps deliberately. Like they've got like abs and like it's wild. It's very good, but it's wild.
I'm just here with my dad bod, like, damn it all to hell. Damn it all to hell. We have our good friend.
They managed to make it that hot. Like everyone just that ridiculously hot when they didn't need to, but they did. And I love that choice.
We have our good friend Ian from the Tomb series, just backed, guys. Can't wait to read it. Thank you so much for backing.
Ian is what? So Ian is the best, and was one of the first people to ever give me feedback on one of my scripts. I met him through the comics collaboration Reddit. This was back in like 2017, I think, and I've met up with him at Emerald City a year later, and he's just the best.
So lucky. I remember meeting Ian for my first time when I got into this, and always an outstanding dude. We played Fortnite together. He's a fantastic gamer as well, too. I love how many gamers are in the comic series. It almost goes hand in hand.
And if people haven't, please check out the Tomb series. It's incredible. Yeah, it's Ian. Yeah, Ian. I feel like Ian's been at it for so long and is such an accomplished creator. It's really time he got his flowers. So I just wanted to like shout him out as both.
He says, I remember hanging with you in Seattle as well. That is awesome. And speaking of watching, Significant Other's game, I was watching my fiance. Little Nightmares 3 just came out. And I loved the art in that. The art is just so good, dude. And games like that, too, where it's just a puzzle horror game. Like, dude, it just scratches the brain in such a satisfying manner. So, it is... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I watched the trailer for that, and the art direction on that is absolutely spectacular. And it reminded me of a game that they showed the trailer for before the PlayStation 5 came out. The Little Devil Inside, it was called. I don't know if you've seen like the gameplay trailer for that. It never came out. I don't know what that is. It's in like limbo somewhere, but that's like another sort of like cutesy little characters, but like in this really semi-creepy but sort of animated sort of claymation sort of stuff thing. Beautiful, absolutely stunning. And again, this is like, there's so much inspiration to find in things like these,
Yeah, I love it, absolutely. So everyone that is watching, it is time for us to end. Right here is a link to check out the Kickstarter. Be sure to back it if you're able to, and if not, put it on Facebook and Twitter. Word of mouth is 100% free and it costs you nothing. Hope you all have a fantastic night, but most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.